welcome everyone. My name is Mark Joseph from Mindful Revolution, and I think by now you know who I am. Welcome to the session called Formscore. What to say to people if they're on a low form, okay? So it's really interesting, very engaging session, and it requires that you also check in a little bit with me. So we're going to do a little breath practice just to calm our bodies, calm our minds down a little, and then we're going to move into the session. So I do encourage you to please switch off your emails. You can airplane your phone. You can just disconnect from all the distractions that we can experience. And you know, it's a great habit to get into this, like just disconnect for a while so that you can actually focus on something properly. So thank you for giving me your complete and undivided attention. You know that song by John Legend, all of me loves all of you. So it's like, nothing better than just having someone's attention. It's a sign of love. Thank you. Let us take a deep breath, breathing in through the nostrils, breathing in. And then slowly exhaling it out the nose with control. Just release whatever anxiety, stress, worry that's going on. Just breathe it out. Breathe in a nice big breath of hope and feeling good. Fill those lungs, open the chest, and slowly exhaling it out the nostrils. Good. And another deep breath in through the nose. Holding it there and opening the mouth, gently sigh that breath out. It's great. So taking a moment to just check in with yourself. How are you feeling today? How are you doing today? And just to help you, I have put a slide up, so you're welcome to open your eyes and have a look at what is in front of you. This is what's called a mood meter. And if you're not sure how you're feeling, there might be a word on this mood meter that you can choose to help you, or to find, you know, sometimes we just don't know what that word is. So I invite you to check in with me in the Q&A. If you do find a word that resonates with you, you can just pop it in the Q&A, because a lot about what we are doing today is how to engage, how to check in, and that's really our main theme. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing what am I today? I must say I'm feeling enthusiastic. I'm feeling enthusiastic. When I finish this call, I'm getting in my car and I'm going to the chemist for my second jab for the COVID vaccination. So I'm actually feeling quite enthusiastic about that. I hope I don't have any side effects. But friends, take to the Q&A. Do you know what word resonates with you today? And if there's a word that's not on here, then you're also welcome to use whatever word you feel. You know, maybe there's a word that's how you're feeling now. And it's important to do this, because these are the cornerstones of emotional intelligence, is to identify that self-awareness. From there we can manage ourselves, and we can have other awareness and other management as well. So identifying what that particular word is for you is extremely, extremely powerful. So we're looking at something called Formscore, and I always congratulate people when they check in and they are honest and a little bit vulnerable. I really congratulate them, because I think that they are champions. They are mental health champions, like Simone Biles from Team USA in the Olympics, and she checks in and she says, I'm not okay. I'm not doing okay. And I think, wow, what a champion. She's not lying. She's not hiding. She's okay to say how she's feeling. And that is such a beautiful sign of emotional maturity. And she's young. She's like only 24 years old, you know. So it was wonderful to watch that in the Olympics. And when we get good at asking people how are they or how are you, and checking in well, we might be faced one day with someone saying, well, thanks for asking, but I'm actually not okay. And then we might think, oh, I wasn't really expecting that answer. I just asked you how you were, you know. But if we really care for people, and if we really care for our colleagues and our family, we're going to make a solid practice of shining the light of, here's my light, shining the light of awareness on the situation. Because there's so many times you say to your child, how are you? And they go, I'm fine. And that's it. You don't know anything about how they're really feeling. And in fact, your child might even get into the habit of not knowing really how they're feeling, but something might be off. And it's really important to help them shine a light on what they're feeling and then identify it. Because if you know how you're feeling, you can do something about it, you know? So if someone says they're not okay, if someone says they're not okay, we don't know what to do. We're like, oh gosh, now what do I say? Now what do I do? And to be fair, knowing what to say actually doesn't come naturally at all. We weren't born with it. It wasn't a skill that was taught to us at school. And if we had really dynamic parents, they would have taught it to us. But this is a new age of being emotionally sensitive and aware. It wasn't like that perhaps when you were young. School, we didn't learn it at school. We didn't learn it. And our society, as a society, generally avoids talking about death, although with COVID, we've been surrounded by it. So we've been thrust into that platform of really having to talk about death and grief and loss. And sometimes it's actually, in a way, I think that's the only positive, that's the only meaningful thing that I can take out of the pandemic, is that it's made us more aware that we are human beings and that we are fragile, and that it's okay to talk about our loss and our grief, and it's okay for others to listen, and it's okay for us to say we can talk about our bad days or our ill mental health or our physical health. And a lot of us haven't had much experience in dealing with people that are in emotional pain. So it's obvious, it's not always obvious when we're helping or when we're hurting. And I find that men struggle a lot to be open and to say, hi, I'm feeling this today. You know, women are more generally able to express themselves more than men. And why is this? Because men are taught to be tough and strong and brave. But is that really being brave? Hiding, sweeping things under the carpets, throwing the broken pieces in the dustbin? Is that brave? I think we need to redefine what is brave, men. Come on, you know, what is brave? Our ability to communicate with empathy is also disappearing more and more. I mean, when I was younger, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have texting. We used to phone people. We used to phone people, you know, and we have conversations with them. And this naturally developed our ability to communicate well and also to listen. And gosh, I remember my early girlfriends sit on the phone for like an hour, you know, and if you didn't sit on the phone for an hour, you obviously didn't love her that much. and listening to what she had to say was a practice, because as a young boy, you don't have a lot to talk about. Well, we don't do that as much anymore. Now it's just a quick text message. So we're losing our ability to listen and to communicate because of technology. And also our discomfort when someone says, actually, I'm not okay today, is partly owing to our disability to hold space for them. And many people ask me, Mark, please give me some advice on how to raise my children in a mindful way. And what I say is very difficult for most people, because I say to parents, listen, we have to be the change that we want to see in our children. If we want to see our children being more authentic, more courageous, wise, loving, caring, well, then we have to display that behavior. And not only to our children, but to others as well. And it's amazing how children are like sponges. You know, they just watch us so carefully. They watch everything we do, and we teach them. I love this word, osmosis. We teach them via osmosis. Yeah. And then they need to see us asking others, how are you really? And watching us hold space for others skillfully and compassionately. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. I think that makes sense. So some of us at work are particularly A-type personalities. We give everything to our jobs. We work so hard, and sometimes we work at night and we work weekends. And sometimes someone in your team or in your workspace might say, how are you doing today, friend? And you say, you know, I feel burnt out. I feel overwhelmed with the workload. I'm struggling. And then what can happen, and often happens, is other people in the team feel awkward about what you said. It's almost like they feel like you are blaming them for not being helpful, or you are blaming them for the workload. But that's not the case. We're allowed to say how we feel. We're allowed to talk about the fact that our workload might be overwhelming. And if that's the case, then maybe someone compassionately might say, is there something I can do to help you? And maybe that's the last thing you want to find out, you know, because you've got enough on your plate. And many people I've spoken to are just wanting to feel loved, to be recognized for what they do and their contribution to their colleague, their partner or boss. And even if the boss or colleague just says, I see you, thank you for the work that you put in. Is there anything that we can do to help you? But we'd rather not hear any difficult stories from our colleagues who are really pushing too hard. And yeah, many times even I've seen in families where a family member is feeling sad. Recently I've had family that immigrated to Holland, and I'm so sad. I miss them. And I remember everybody was saying, just try and be happy for them, you know, try and be happy. And I was like, well, I can't try to be happy if I'm sad, right? And then by feeling sad, some people think I'm being an obstacle to that process, that I'm being difficult. And then there's some anger that can come, you know? And it's like, hey, I'm just being sad, okay? I'm allowed to be sad. It's okay to be sad. I know how I'm feeling. I'm not going to pretend I'm happy, even though I'm happy for your decision, but actually the way I'm feeling is sad. So it does require a very, very high level of authenticity to be part of this mental health revolution. And if you feel that nobody else around you is behaving in that way, well, I challenge you to be that person. To be that person to say, I'm not feeling great today. And I'm okay to say that. You know, let's be champions like Simone Biles in the Olympics. Let's stand up for ourselves. Let's be transparent. I mean, so what do we say when people are going through a hard time? Let's imagine you ask the question, how are you? And then somebody says, I'm not doing so well. What do you say? So let's explore that, because often we say things that are not actually all that helpful. And we think we're being helpful, but we're not. So here's how to engage with someone who says, I'm not okay. One of the most limiting things that we can say to people is, how are you doing? Now you're probably going, huh? What are you talking about? How are you doing? Everyone says that. Well, it's very limiting. How are you? It's very limiting. Because what are people going to say when you ask them, how are you? What are they going to say? They're going to say, I'm fine. And then that's it. Then end of conversation. How about you know that if someone is going through a hard time, you can see it and you can look at them and say, it looks like things are really tough for you. It looks like things are really tough for you right now. Okay? Acknowledge where they are and say, I see you. I kind of feel you. I feel what you're going through. Isn't that better? Often people say to me, oh gosh, I remember when a girlfriend broke my heart, you know, and someone would say, oh, well, it could have been worse. It could be worse. I mean, I don't want to think about it could be worse. I'm suffering there with this broken heart, you know. Someone could say to me rather in a more mindful way, sure, that's heavy for you. That's heavy for you, you know, acknowledging how I'm feeling. Whereas it could be worse is actually dismissive and not helpful. Not helpful. It's dismissive. Yeah, you know, often people say, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So like someone in the family gets a cancer diagnosis, for example. And terrible, shocking. And then we say, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry, you'll be fine. I really, really don't think that that's what they want to hear. You know, because the question is, they might not be fine. So what we could say instead is, well, you know what? I'm here if you want to talk. I'm here for you. You see the difference? The one is dismissive, and the other is where we actually hold space for somebody else. Another one, very famous. Oh, the same thing happened to my friend. You know, big deal. So what? That's also not about. That's nothing really helpful to the person that you're checking in with. So we could say, well, what did that make you feel? You see, we're not offering advice, people. We're not coming in and trying to be smart, because this is typically what men do. You know, the guy's sitting on the couch, his wife comes home, and his wife said, oh, I've had a really bad day. And then all of a sudden, the man wants to fix it. He wants to sort out the problem. And often women just say, honey, you don't have to fix it. I just want you to listen. And some of the best therapists are just the greatest listeners. They know, all they do is ask you questions. You know, how did that make you feel? When I go for my therapist, I sit down. She doesn't say, here's 10 things to fix yourself. You know, the first thing my therapist says to me is, so where would you like to start? Where can we start today? You know, and there's always something that's like at the top of my mind, and that's our entry point. And it's a great question. And all she does is ask me questions. It's very easy. It looks like. I know she's highly skilled. Is there anything that I can do? Is there anything I can do? Now, when somebody's lost a loved one and they're grieving, most of the time, even I say this, I say, is there anything I can do? You know what I hear every time since I was young is the answer is no. No, thank you. No, thanks. So I don't believe that. So let's throw, is there anything I can do, out the window? Poof, there it goes, gone. How about we say, I've ordered you lunch. It's coming, they're going to come and deliver. I've ordered, I know you love this type of lasagna, and I've just baked a whole tray for you and your family, and I'm coming to drop it off, whether you like it or not. And if you don't want to eat it, throw it away or give it to someone, you know. But there we go. There's a beautiful way to help someone, rather than ask the question, is there anything I can do? Because a lot of times people are in in a position where they can't really think, and they don't really, and they don't want to put you out either. So another one, oh, well, let's take the breakup, for example. Oh, my girlfriend left me, I'm all alone. Oh, and then someone says to me, well, you can always meet somebody else. Well, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Again, really dismissive, not very helpful, not helping me. So what would be lovely if someone said, what happened? What's going on? Why? What do you want to talk about it? Is it that scary to open space or hold space for somebody else? Another one is, oh, I know how you feel. You can never know how someone else feels. It's just impossible. Even if you went through something similar, you can't possibly know how somebody else feels. We can only imagine, right? We can only imagine. We can't know. This one. You're handling this better than expected. Well, that's what it might look like, but we can't take that for granted either. It's kinder to say you might not be feeling great, but that's okay. You don't have to be handling it better than expected. And if you're not handling it well, that's okay. And it's okay to not be okay. You see how the language can change everything for a person and help a person's healing process. And the last one is, you don't say anything. You can see someone is struggling, we can see someone is down, and then we just don't say anything. And we can open the conversation by finding a common ground. Like, oh, remember when this person, took us to the movies, and, reflecting on a loved one who has passed on their life with your friend, etc. A beautiful way to engage and open up a conversation once again. So if you can't remember all of these, just think to yourself, can I listen more? And how can I encourage more listening? How can I encourage myself to be a better listener? So we're going to move into a little practice, friends. Sitting comfortably in your seat. Taking a moment just to take in a deep breath, breathing in through the nose and breathe it out the mouth. And just check in with yourself. How are you today? 1 out of 10. 10 being I'm really great, 1 being I'm really low. And there's a part of us that isn't quite okay, and that's normal. And we might be feeling loss or grief or sadness or irritation or fear, anxiety. Just find that part of yourself that's not quite right today. Maybe it's a part of yourself that is ignored, pushed away, or mistreated. And it's that part of ourselves that we say, oh, don't be so upset. Why don't you try this? We really need to change quickly. You'll be fine. It could be worse. These words that we say to ourselves. So really embrace that part of you right now. Take it to your heart. Find that part of you that is just not feeling 100% today. And say words like, I'm here for you. I'm listening. How can I show up for you? as if you were talking to a little child. Give them the space to be heard. Part of you that just needs to be heard. Just to say, is there more? As we practice kindness and self-compassion, we can say to ourselves, I'm here for you. Gently breathing into a space at your heart and opening up more space, and even imagining a warm and comforting light, embracing and supporting that part of you that is not feeling 100% today. Breathing some hope into that space, whatever that feeling is. And keep imagining that that space is being cared for by every breath that you take. Good. Let's breathe in again, nice and smooth and deep, filling yourself up with that hope. And gently release out the mouth. Opening your eyes. Here we go. Well done, friends. So now we know what to do. I'm sure you maybe did know what to do, but let's challenge ourselves to be more present for others, to be less dismissive and more in a position to hold space. That's all we have to do. I love that word, holding space. Recently, our CEO lost her mom to COVID, and I could have said, what can I do for you? I didn't say that. Instead, I said, let me take on your work. Whatever it is that you have to do, don't do it. Grieve, experience that loss, and I will take on your work. And that became one of the kindest and most practical things I've done in a while. Yeah. So, come to the end of our session. Thank you for joining today, friends. It's Mark Joseph here from Mindful Revolution, and look forward to seeing you again soon, soon, soon. Yeah, take care. And remember, hold that space for yourself and for others. Goodbye.